Tom, how surprised were you when the news broke today that Cam Newton is staying with the Patriots? Were you giving us a reprise of your shocked face from this morning when you saw that Cam is staying?
No, it's funny. Last night, I've had a creeping sense that this was getting closer and closer. Just in the people I speak to down there are starting to say, look, there's nothing out there for free agents, and trying to sell the notion that Cam wasn't that bad when you really look at it. There were a lot of things beyond his control that kind of contributed to things. So I was prepared for it. I targeted it last night, Mike, at 51% likelihood that Cam would be back. But I thought that was going to be in case of emergency, break glass, maybe in June if they couldn't get anybody else. I didn't think it was going to happen now.
So, you just kind of... Oh,
go ahead, Myles. This is the first time Myles and I have done this, so we got to get our sea legs. We're going to go back and forth with questions, Tom. I hope you're ready to get grilled. Go ahead, Myles.
Thank you, Mike. Tom, you kind of just alluded to this, that people were saying it wasn't necessarily all Cam's fault. But from your perspective, was the offense last year a Cam Newton problem, or was it a receiver's problem? Was it both?
It was both. But here's the thing. It was probably worse personnel-wise in 2020 than it was in 2019, Myles. The reason being, in 2019, you had Julian Edelman on a 100-catch, 1,000-yard season. Cam didn't have that. Now, Brady had a worse offensive line to deal with in 2019, but he also had James White. They didn't have an offseason to get those tight ends going. I don't know if they'll ever get going or not. But I would say that the Patriots in 2019 might have had a better complement of players. Neither was good. But here's the thing that people are overlooking that the Patriots do shine a light on. If everybody around the quarterback is that challenged, well, then how do you make up for it? You make up for it with the feet. And that's what Cam did. 12 touchdowns on the ground, 55 first downs that he picked up on the ground. So those are things that they look at and say, look, if Brady was here and he was facing 3rd and 3, we couldn't have run with him, but we could with Cam.
Tom, Jimmy Garoppolo's name had been linked to the Patriots. Greg Bedard recently said that he was plan A. Was this just a case of the Patriots not wanting to take the chance of waiting for Garoppolo and maybe not getting him, so they better take Cam while they can before he signs elsewhere?
I think that's 100% accurate, and I think that Cam was of a mind too that, you know what, let's not screw around with this. I want to be here. You guys need a quarterback. I'd love to run it back again with you guys. I enjoyed it. And I'll take another modest contract that if I play like I think I can play, we're going to make a little bit more. I don't think the Patriots are by any stretch, and I'm sure both of you guys are in the same boat, are done. It's a $5 million contract. That's less than Marcus Mariota made to pack up Derek Carr last year. So to me, the Patriots have just kind of done what they did with Trent Brown earlier this week. It's really a cover your ass type of move. If he's starting on opening day, and I just put this out on Twitter, I don't think the Patriots will be giddy about that. That means nobody beat him out. Nobody shook loose from any place else, but at least they feel okay that they have a guy that they don't dislike playing the position.
So does that mean you anticipate that they will either draft a quarterback or add somebody else in free agency that is going to give Cam some competition?
Or, Myles, they find somebody to shake loose. Somehow Deshaun Watson goes to San Francisco and they convince Jimmy Garoppolo to give up his no-trade clause, take a pay cut, and come here. Then maybe they can work it. But I think right now it is TBD. They have to – and that's one that's interesting thing about Belichick is he doesn't pinch himself into a corner too often. I could argue you do have to be a little bit more proactive than he has been offensively really since 2017 because he's only drafted Jimmy Garoppolo and Danny Etling, reacquired Brian Hoyer, and now has twice signed Cam Newton. I don't think that is really being urgent at the position. But you have to allow it to play out somewhat over the next few months and allow yourself some mobility so that if you do have an early onset stutter, as I just did, you can recover quickly and then finish the sentence.
Here's the concern I have, though, as it relates to the possibility it'll be Jimmy Garoppolo or someone else who could potentially supplant Cam Newton as the starter. when I see the accurate details, not the stuff that came out earlier that Cam Newton is making close to $14 million, but when it's a base package of $5 million and it's $9 million in incentives that are premised on the guy actually playing, don't you read that at some level as an implication that it's his gig, that it's his job, that they're signing him with the understanding that he's number one and they're not going to actively go out and look for someone who could just take that job over walking through the door?
Yeah, you could take that implication, or you could take it at, as we're hedging our bets, Cam. We're not giving you the job. You have to win it. And he had to win it last year. His competition was only Jarrett Stidham, but I still think he would have to win it. And if you're Cam Newton and you're going to say, I don't think there's 32 quarterbacks better than me, and they hustle Gardner Minshew in here or somebody, and I don't think they're going to do that, you're going to think you're going to beat him out. Now, Garoppolo would be certainly, a horse of a different color in terms of what level and classification of quarterback, former Super Bowl starter is, but I still think that $5 million base is $5 million base. That is not the going rate for a starting quarterback, and the Patriots have hedged their bets well with it.
What other offensive positions do you think really should be the priority for the Patriots going into this offseason free agency?
Myles, I think that they really, it's obvious the wide receiver is a huge glaring hole for them. And I don't know. I think Jacoby Myers didn't have a touchdown reception. Damiere Byrd might have had one. Wish I had the numbers right in front of me and probably could Google it and find them. But their wide receiver touchdowns were very, very, very low, certainly less than 5. As for tight end production, it was non-existent. They're 2 guys that they drafted. What?
What? You're good.
Okay, my bad.
Nobody said anything.
I'm sorry. They just did a wipe and I got screwed. They have tight end production between the 2 rookies that they drafted, Logan Keane and Devin Asiasi, of like 6 catches for the year. And Ryan Izzo didn't bring anything either. So it's got to be wide receiver and tight end that they start with. And I just don't know. We've seen the trials and tribulations of them trying to get things right at those positions. So it's hard to have great faith that they're going to get it right.
Hey, Tom, one more about the Patriots before we pivot to the Patriots' former starting quarterback. The salary cap surplus that the Patriots have, significant. Puts them in a position to sign a lot of guys, bargain basement guys. It's not like they're going to go out and make an Adalius Thomas, Stephon Gilmore type signing next week. And, of course, now that I've said that, they probably will. How much of what they have now, how much of that was deliberate last year when they kind of saw which way the wind was blowing? They knew that there were going to be significant pandemic losses. They had 8 guys, I think it was, opt out for the year. Mm-hmm. How much did they decide, screw it, we're just going to stockpile cash and cap space for next year, and we're going to go ahead and try to take full strategic and competitive advantage of the fact that so many teams are going to be scrambling next year to comply with the cap, and we're going to be able to go all in and put together a championship team with bargain basement players?
Serendipity, Michael. I think it was totally and wholly serendipity that it worked out that way for them. Because if you look, as Brady was entering free agency around March 17th, and the team was franchising Joe Thuney to the tune of $15 million, they were bumping up against the cap. What they had hoped to do was to re-sign Brady, to reconfigure Thuney's contract, bring his number down, keep him around. The fact that they ended up cleaning their books off when they lost Brady, and I would say lost him. They, in one fell swoop, were able to write their books and also, benefit from the dropping cap around the league with other people being thrown overboard. Is just good fortune, good timing on their part. Hard to call a pandemic good timing, but they end up being the beneficiaries of that to a large extent.
So when you now see Tom Brady has signed this extension that will let him play ostensibly until he's at least 45 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are you at all surprised by the way that this has gone down?
No. This is part and parcel, Myles, of what he has always done with the New England Patriots. And, if the Patriots had negotiated in what Brady and Don Yee would have considered to be good faith in 2017 after Jimmy Garoppolo was traded, in 2018, in 2019, he would have done these deals, which would have then resulted in him perhaps renegotiating to drop the number down if need be. That's the way he's kind of always done it. I think one time, and that was in 2010, he had the top of the market contract. In 2013, that's when the Patriots and Brady got together, and I think it was a 6-year, maybe not even, $60 million extension. I would have to double check that, and I should, because I've said it twice now on television and not gotten it right. But Bob Kraft called that the elegant solution to Brady's contract, where he wouldn't take up too much cap space and they could still build around him. Only when the Patriots became hesitant about keeping him around and making him go with incentive-laden deals that he had no shot at getting, did he then begin to say, let's have $25 million here. Let's start to pay me closer to the market. But it was only because he didn't trust what they were doing where he started to say, if you're going to make me go year to year, I want to be paid more.
Tom, on the scale of no big deal, garden variety, early regular season loss, to Super Bowl 42 losing to the Giants, where will it fall if the Patriots lose at home to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers this year, whenever that game may be?
I think it'll be no big deal, barely causes a ripple, because you're talking about the Super Bowl champions against, what is a team that came off a 7-9 season, and who knows what the record will be then. To me, it would be much, 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 much more poetic justice if there was a way for the Patriots to rest Jimmy Garoppolo free from San Francisco and have Brady, the deposed prince, coming back from exile to battle against the aging king and his always preferred prince, Jimmy Garoppolo, and fight for their honor on the fields of battle at Gillette Stadium. But I don't think it's going to happen.
But would it be an issue, though, if, Brady comes in and he's playing with the Buccaneers and all of a sudden the New England crowd starts chanting Brady, Brady, Brady because the Buccaneers are just doing their thing against the Patriots?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? There will be fights in the stands because this has, in a way that Bledsoe Brady did not, because that was a team that was, there was a lot of loyalty to Drew Bledsoe in 2000 and 2001, but he still wasn't a winning quarterback, certainly to the level that Brady was, nor did he put them on the map, nor provide them with a surname or a first name to give to dogs, cats, and children for years to come. If Brady comes in and does that, kind of pees on the Patriots' foreheads, Bill Belichick's forehead, I think that the people who take some gratification from seeing that Bill made a mistake and Brady is showing him what a great mistake it was will be in great conflict on that day with the people who say, in Bill we trust. Brady was a petulant child and Bill gave him everything that he turned out to be. And that is almost how it splits right now. There's very, very, very few who are in that middle. It's blue state, red state. You decide which one is which.
Hey, Tom, one more for you, and we appreciate your time as always. If I'm reading you properly based upon the last 10 minutes or so, and there's a chance I'm not, I get the impression that you don't view last year's 7-9 as some sort of a regrouping by the Patriots. You see it more as the start of a trend, and that this team has its work cut out for it to be a playoff team again. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I think the ceiling is probably about 10-6. And a team that can overachieve, give a hard time to some really good teams, get its ass handed to it by the very good teams, and beat all the teams that are similar to it. They went 7-9 last year with one of the worst rosters in football. It won't be one of the worst rosters in football this year, just with the opt-outs coming back. But they still don't have anybody who makes you sweat in the front seven except for Dante Hightower. They may lose to Stephon Gilmore via trade or something else. No wide receivers, no tight ends, and a quarterback right now who's not really good at throwing overhand.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.